Good evening and thank you for watching. Anyway, it's Monday evening, it's the 1st of June and welcome to our latest Instagram live video. We got 4 guests on tonight, some very interesting guests and a lot to look forward to. Hope you've enjoyed the sun today. For those of you that are back at work and for those of your children that are at school, I hope today's passed okay. Let's just hope that this is the start of things moving out of the doldrums for us all, so that'll be great if it does. So let's look at who we've got on this evening, and I'll go reverse order as I always do. 7:30 we've got the former Southern Area and English champion Miles Shinkwin, who had a very I'd say an exciting career. 20 fights, he fought for the British, fought for the WBA International, and he was a very exciting fighter who gave us a lot of great excitement. 7:20 we welcome Simon Dowling, photographer extraordinaire, a man that you see often at our shows at York Hall. We'll be talking to Simon about how he's involved in boxing. Before Simon, we've got a young man who hasn't fought for 2 years, retired 2 years ago, Richie Gray. Ended up a career at 6-1, was trained and managed by Alec Wilkie, a good man who's at the moment going through his own cancer treatment. Hopefully he's on the way back. But first of all, we've got a man who's well known to many, former professional footballer, turned professional. I think he was 35 years of age in 2013 and ended up having 11 fights. He fought for an English title, he fought for a Southern Area title, he fought live on Sky at the Copper Box in a final eliminator for the English title. Had a very exciting career. It was always a pleasure to deal with, and that's Leon McKenzie. So let's touch base with Leon. Leon McKenzie. I spoke to Leon for a while. See how he's been getting on in lockdown. Leon, how are you?
Good, man. Long time. I'm wearing the specs like you, mate.
Yes, you're getting old, mate. You're getting...
42 now, you know.
So, how old?
42 now.
Are you really? Oh my God.
42.
That's crackers.
Yeah, 39 when I retired.
Do you know what I think about that? That Cello Render fight was what, two and a half years ago now, wasn't it?
3 years, isn't it? 2017 I retired.
Do you know, I wouldn't have thought that, you know, because it doesn't feel like, I don't know to you, does it feel that long ago?
No, I always get little flashbacks. Every time I sort of look at the shorts, I've got the shorts up and that, I always get little flashbacks of that fight because honestly, like, it was just time. It was just time.
Yeah.
And I, you know, full credit to the experience. That's why experience is the best teacher, because he knew something at the end of round 8. Like, experience, he knew something. And that's why he sort of like went the way he did in round 9. I had nothing left.
Yeah. So how's things been for you since you retired? I know you've done it. You've helped out a few pro boxers, haven't you? And done a few bits of training with them, haven't you?
I was with John Harding Jr. for a bit, training through. You know, he's you know, he's doing well, and he's I'm a bit excited to see where he goes. He seems to have come with, you know, sort of found himself a bit. But my main sort of connection obviously is with Philip Bowes. Who I won the Commonwealth title with.
You've done a really good job with Phil, and I'd say since you became part of the team, for me, he has improved, and I think there's been a difference because I know Phil he fought on some of my shows. I never managed him, but he fought on my shows, and I have seen a very big improvement since you got involved. So I don't know whatever you're doing with him, whether it's mental or whether it's because I think mentally he needed a bit of help. So that's for sure.
Both a bit of mentally. Sort of got into his head a little bit. Training wise, definitely changed a few things, and I kind of built the foundation from my fitness point of view, because I always felt that Phil was always lacking in the sort of later rounds, and where I felt like, okay, where can I sort of improve as a trainer, as a new trainer, to just improve him. His IQ is extremely high. He's very so it's not so much like all the pad work and stuff. So basically with Phil, we have that connection where I'm able to work with him and have different ideas, and I'll go with it, and we're kind of like that. So it's a very good relationship in that respect. This whole pandemic thing's really messed things up. We were supposed to British title against Ennis, and potentially still could happen. Still could happen. But it's very like we don't really know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, are you working with any other boxers at the moment, or are you concentrating on yourself more?
No, I don't. I mean, I'd really love being a coach. I've loved coaching Phil. I'd love to have one more fight. I mean, as a trainer to be, as a new trainer to sort of have a Commonwealth champion and maybe a British champion, for me is another big deal. You know what I mean? But we'll see what was supposed to be will be. Boxing wise, I'm not sure if after Phil, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to go sort of more towards the try and get another fighter as such. I'm just not too sure.
So what are you doing with your life generally now? What's Leon McKenzie doing?
Not a great deal at the moment because of everything that's going on.
Apart from
I'll put on probably since I was fighting near 2.5 stone.
Okay.
Yeah, but holding it well, you know me, holding it well. I can see why when I look back now, I don't know how I got down to like 76.4 or whatever it was. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm obviously I'm a PT now. I'm a boxing coach at 12 times 3 gym. So I'm a head coach there. Obviously that's been shut down. So trying to find other resources. I'm still sort of trying to launch my own charity for all the mental health stuff I do. That's the main vision for me. And I've just got my own show at TalkSport, which is
have you?
Yeah, I'm going to be co-hosting with Steve Harmison once a week. I'm not too sure what days is in the book yet, but
that's good.
Yeah, it'll be me and him. The topic is about when the lights go out, sort of life after. So we're going to have different guests on, talking about what they're doing now, what's going on, how did they cope with retiring, and all the things that come with athletes and retirement, because it's never an easy call when you don't.
I think there's I think the thing in sport that I see, I mean, I try and keep in contact with Wadi Camacho, who's retired a little while ago. I keep in contact with him regularly, and I try and keep in contact with a lot of boxers that retire. But especially in boxing, they seem to retire, and nobody ever seems to bother contacting them again. As soon as they can't throw punches anymore, the people that were bothered about them they just disappear. And that's what a lot of boxers tell me, that they just sort of like cast to the side. And that must be difficult. I guess the same happens in football as well, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. Listen, from a business point of view, once that commodities, that value has gone out the window, and you're not really able to help the club, or you're not able to fight anymore. Once you can't make that person money, then you really and truly, no one really cares. That's the reality of it. What happens is too many athletes, or what I've seen, especially even through my boxing career, although I'd gone through a lot of my hardship, I was really planning. So when I was fighting, although no one really saw me, I mean, we didn't get many opportunities on Sky. We didn't get many opportunities, from the Matchrooms and the Frank Warrens and whoever it is that was involved with giving me that opportunity, because I still feel like we could have probably done a little bit more with the sort of push. Do you know what I mean? But taking that away, I was still sort of planning that boxing was going to end the next fight. So I was doing a lot of life coaching. I was training. I was doing a lot of speaking stuff, doing a lot of radio stuff. Just trying to keep active and keep positive. And obviously, a lot of my boxing money really came from my own generation of sponsorship.
That's right. I mean, you had the one fight on Sky at the Copper Box, didn't you, when you fought Kelvin Young? Yeah. And it was a good, exciting performance. And I think from that, I'm not say surprised, but really, I thought that would be the platform for Eddie Hearn to get a bit more behind you.
Who knows? From a business element, I mean, from where Eddie Hearn stands, who's a top promoter.
Yeah.
think from where he stands, Leon McKenzie is not going to make Eddie Hearn any money, regardless of you know, my profile and everything else. It's very simple for him. Like, yeah, I can get you in a couple of matchroom shows, but you're not really making me any money because you're best part of 38, 39 years old.
Yeah.
39 years old. I can't, you know, I had the opportunity to fight on Sky after the Groves fight. Lasted 43 seconds, and you know that was the end of that.
What was your highlight? What was your highlight of your boxing career?
My highlight of my career, I probably had a couple. I would say, you know, winning the international masters belt, although it was, you know, great belt to win, for me it was a big deal because everything I'd come from, everything I'd worked towards, just to win a professional belt in a different career was, I felt like, was nice for me and my family. That's all we ever wanted to achieve. We knew we didn't have much time. That's why it was kind of like, okay, you know, I'm 10 fights in, fighting someone like Chelo Renda, who's 42 fights in. It's a massive difference when you actually, but what people forget is actually I had 18 years in professional football, and at 38 years old, 39 years old, I'm fighting Jermaine Smile for the English title.
Yeah.
Should have won, but again, I didn't have, in that fight, I didn't have my snap. I didn't have what me and my dad knew that I had. I couldn't find it. And I knew in that fight, I said to him at the end of the fight, I don't think I've got this, because I knew I could have beat him on a good Leon McKenzie, maybe a few years younger, I would have done my thing, but it wasn't there. So after the fight, I was like, Dad, I'm not recovering quick enough. This is getting quite difficult. You know what I mean? So we had another year out, didn't we? If you remember,
yes, right?
Yeah, whatever. And then Alan Higgins, is it Higgins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pulled out through injury, bless him. And then obviously, you know, Chelo stepped in, and he was probably like sort of a bogey man for most people, really, and very tough man. Still not having him saying he knocked me out, because man, he didn't knock me out. I didn't have nothing left.
You just collapsed with exhaustion in the end, didn't you? That was all it was. Yeah.
But I'm gonna, you know, this ain't about pride or self-ego. You know, Chelo won the fight, and that is all she wrote. I can't look back. I don't look back and think, oh, you know, let's have a rematch. I left everything in the ring. And that's why I retired.
No. So what now for you going forward? You're going to pursue your charity work. You're going to do your radio show. I mean, is Leon McKenzie today a happy man?
There's always sort of personal things going on with me. I'm fighting many demons all the time. You know what I mean? From a personal point of view, you know, depression is a massive part of my life that I have to fight. Unfortunately, most days I fight it, and some I lose. And you know, if I can control my personal stuff and, you know, relationships and making sure that my kids are okay, I'm sure I'll find that peace and happiness within. But it is a hard journey. Some days a hard journey.
No, I get it. Well, Leon, thanks a lot. It's really great to speak to you again. Thanks a lot for coming on, my friend. You look after yourself. Back
at the York Hall soon, eh?
Yeah, you take care, Leon. Thanks a lot, my friend. Cheers. Thanks, mate. Bye. That's Leon McKenzie, a man that's we didn't get on to his football career. Not many people excel at professional sports, and that man, I've got utmost admiration for Leon McKenzie and everything he achieved. Right, on to a young man now, 30 years of age, but retired 2 years ago. Richie Gray. Let's have a little chat with Richie, who's a man of many talents. We've seen him behind the mic at MTK shows. See what he's up to now. Richie, how you doing?
How you doing, Steve? All right?
I'm not bad, mate. So what are you up to now? I mean, obviously you're not up to a lot at the moment. So what are you doing in your life generally before we had this lockdown?
Oh, I work for one of my sponsors now, funny enough. One of my main sponsors that helped me out from start to finish after boxing. like a lot of lads, didn't really know what to do myself. He said, "Come down the office, have a chat with him," and I've been there ever since now.
And what do you do?
I'm an account manager.
How are you?
Yeah, it's a far stretch from getting punched in the head.
But you're still selling the business, so you're still selling.
Yeah, I still stick them all up on my socials every now and then. All the guys that supported me through my career, you still see them pop up every now and then. Because to be honest, I still speak to most of them, so I keep in touch with everyone.
Oh, that is good. So, do you? I mean, obviously, for those who don't know, you had the 7 fights, you had 6 wins, and you lost on points. But you always had a lot of trouble with your hands, didn't you?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I had trouble with my hands quite early on. I think it was about my third or fourth fight, they started to deteriorate. It was recovering okay at the time. Sort of had a fight, take a few weeks, take it easy. We'd get back. Some of my fights, I think 2 of the fights I didn't spar because I just couldn't do it. I was hitting pads and moving around. I was always in shape. You know, Alec Wilkie, he's a great coach, and he wouldn't send me out there out of shape. I was doing what I needed to do, but I just couldn't. It got to the point where even Howard told me ages ago, I was like, "Rich, your days are numbered." And at the time, I just wouldn't accept it. I was like, "No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right." And then in my last fight, it was like the first punch I threw, and I was like, "I'm done. Like my hands are toast." And it's horrible, but listen, it's what it is, isn't it?
Do you miss it?
I did it first. First couple of months, I was a bit like, I felt like it was a bit soon. I felt like I could have done a bit, but I'll be honest with you now. Now I'm happier. Not many boxers admit I was mildly average at best, Steve. I was better at selling than I was boxing.
So I mean, for those of people that are watching, I always use you as an example as to how a boxer should conduct themselves outside the ring. So for those people that are watching, tell everybody what you did to get sponsors and how you actually built up your fan base.
There's so many different ways. Like I used to have sort of a system in place where at first, like everyone else will do, it was a bit of a freestyle, didn't really know what was going on. Like Advance, who I work for now, actually paid for me to turn pro, my licensing fees, etc., etc. And then when I put on my social medias, like everyone did, I'm going to turn pro. I had a couple of people say, "All right, we'll sponsor you." And the boss who I was working for before was actually my dad. He paid me for my first fight, first 6 weeks. So, but then after that, find your feet. After that, I knew that time would come after the first fight. I had to figure something out. So then I started on putting on my trousers, putting on my shirt. I would go business to business, door to door. I'd go to industrial estates with multiple businesses daily, go in and out, introduce myself, tell them who I am, tell them my socials, show them some photos or videos, and I'll do rounds of all of them, all different areas, different towns, different places, and just until I'd get some sort of interest, and then I'd always check in on them. I'm not trying to sell, like any sales job. You can't just buy my product, buy my products. It doesn't work that way. You build relationships with people. They want to come, and it's not about being the best boxer. It's about people buy from people, really, is the truth. And just making contacts. And the hardest part was I would have times I'd drive to an industrial estate, 6 or 7 companies there, and I'd bottle it. I'd sit in my car and I'd think, nah, I ain't feeling it today. I'd drive back around the corner and I'd go, look, it's this or go back on the tools. So I'd go back again, get back out my car and force myself into all these buildings until eventually I'd pick up some sort of momentum from some of them. And I had sponsors I had one from Kent, one from Manchester, I had a couple from London, I had a couple from like my area, but it wasn't all just my area. I'd be emailing people from the other side of the country if I had to.
And that's what a lot of boxers don't do now, and this is the thing that sometimes you do get boxers, and I know how hard it is, but you get boxers going, "Oh, I can't sell tickets," and then you say, "But do you want to do an interview with blah blah?" "No, I don't want to do an interview with that." And they don't do interviews, they don't do anything, and then they moan they're not selling, and they don't go out. But you're not going to sell tickets. It's not easy, is it, to sell tickets for small boxing?
I do think the tickets and sponsorship need to be treated differently. So selling tickets and picking up sponsors are completely different. They're a completely different sell, if you like. I would have like lads help me. I'd find the local. To be smart about it, you can't ask a 16-year-old to sell tickets because their mates probably ain't got jobs. You don't want to ask a 30-year-old because they don't care about a free ticket. They'd rather just buy it. I was asking lads around 20 years old, just left school, college, whatever, sell 10 tickets to your mates or 15 tickets and you can have your ticket and your other half's ticket for free. I'd have 4 or 5 lads that would take 10, 15 tickets off me, flog them to all their mates, and they'd get they'd get tickets free, hats, t-shirts. If they wanted to do a bit of coaching, I'd do it with them. That would take off my hands. As soon as my tickets came in my hand, I think I had about 55, 60 tickets go out to lads. They didn't all sell them. I probably got about 15 back, 10 back, but it would take 55, 60 off my hands. And I have some deals with sponsors where they'd take 10 or 15 tickets per fight every time. I'd consistently advertise them all through the year, but every time I fight, they've got a sort of a set number that they take off me every time. And then that would, I think, at some stage, I think I had 80, 90 tickets going out. They come in, they're out, done. And that's without me leaving my house. And that, if lads can build up some sort of momentum in them, there's a lot of ways to do it. That sounds very simplified. There's so many different other areas that you can use to shift tickets. Raffles, that sounds obvious. But what I've found in the past, and I've had boxers say, Rich, how did you sell tickets? I offer this solution, that solution, the other solution. They'll do it once and never again. It's consistent. Like with Brad and Linus, Linus lately has been in a lot of videos, and I think it's brilliant. And I think he'll get a return on that. He does a video to announce a fight when he has one, talks about what he's got and who he's fighting, etc. It's just basic stuff, but he's consistent with it, and then people will look out for it. All these little things that you can't just do once and then forget about, consistently, daily. It should be as much as your life as your training is.
Both of those lads that you mentioned sell really well. They do sell well. They're both supremely talented and sell well. I mean, they've got the whole package together. I mean, they're on the verge now. If you know, they're both on the verge of breaking through, aren't they? That's where, and again, their support will help them break through, which is great. So obviously, after you finished boxing, you did a bit of commentary on MTK shows for a bit, didn't you? Was you going boxing like in recent times, or have you just sort of given up you don't bother going anymore?
When I was boxing, I was doing commentating as well, because I would ask promoters if I could commentate on their show. I would just straight up add random promoters on my social media, and I'd email them, email secretaries, and just ask them. I think I might have emailed you once. I know you don't do commentary, Steve, but maybe you should think about it. Yeah. Just to at the time it was to build, so people knew I was, just to build your profile. Yeah. And then, funny enough, Lee Eaton gave me a chance first on some other shows he used to do. I did a few of them. They went well. I got invited to a Joey Pyle show, and then I started doing some MTK shows and various unlicensed shows. And I think the commentating alongside the podcast and things like that, I kept them up after the boxing, but then MTK got some permanent commentators, and they didn't really need me so much, so that sort of went by the side. I quite enjoyed that, but that's business, and they chose who they liked.
Yeah. So what now? You won't stay in boxing in any capacity now, will you?
I'll never fight again. People ask me that a lot. I'll never fight again.
No.
I miss the media. If I'm honest, I really like the media. I like coming to your shows. You was always really, really good to me, really nice, and everyone around the ring. It's a really nice atmosphere to be around. I wouldn't say no to getting back involved in that, but I'm not going out of my way for it anymore. It's very difficult. I've got a son now, so I can't spend all my time going to gyms to get to know boys, to go to shows everywhere. It's not, my priorities are elsewhere.
How old's your boy?
7 months old.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Changes your life, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I know there's some positives for me for all this lockdown, because I've spent the last 3 months watching my son grow, and it's time that you'll never get back.
No, I agree. No, it's
really
really
good. Absolutely blessed over that. Maybe one day, Steve, he'll have a go.
Yeah, you never know. Listen, Richie, great speaking to you. Thanks for coming on today. Really nice to touch base with you again. Look after yourself. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Thanks, matey. You take care.
Bye-bye.
That's Richie Gray, one of the characters of boxing, who's so much to offer still to people that need help on the marketing and media sides. So we're now going to be joined by Simon Dowling from Digital Sports, the photographers at your call. Let's touch base with Simon. And then we've got Miles Shinkwin on, former English and Southern Area champion at the end. So hang on and let's speak to Miles afterwards. Simon, how are you?
I've got no sound.
Can you hear me?
Why have I got no sound?
Any better?
Oh, that's typical. Okay, yes, I can see you. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
You can. Well, that's something. I can't hear a sweet FA this in, but there you go. There must be something on here. No, he doesn't like me. I had this sound earlier. It's all gone.
So I'll tell you
It's
what
up.
I'll do is I'll have a go with your phone. I'll go and pick up Miles, who's going to be on after you, and I'll come back to you, and hopefully you'll be
I
able
don't
to
know. Hang on,
pick the
Steve.
sound
I've
by.
lost the sound on this. I don't know why. I don't know why. She swallowed the fly.
So we'll have
no
to
idea.
we'll touch base. We'll touch base another time.
No, I can't get you. I'm playing the hardest. Nobody loves me. All the volumes are up. No, all right, so you can hear me. I don't know. I'll try and rabble on, I suppose, a bit. Yeah, do you want to know how I started? You can nod, yeah, that'll be it, yeah. I started when I was at school. I worked in a photographic shop that had a studio, and I got into that, taking pictures, blah, blah, blah. And the interest in photography carried on from there. I brought up a family, like most people, so the photography took a bit of a back step. And then in the last 15 years, I started to get back into it, which was good. I always enjoyed it and always kept it going. I was into drag racing for quite a while. I used to race, and the photography came on. I met Steve Smith, who was running Digital Sports Photo. I'd done some photographs for him, and I worked with him for a while. And a little while ago, I actually bought the company because he wanted out. So I now own Digital Sports, and it's my company. I run it, I do it, and let's see what happens with it. Yeah, I've got to try and lip read you. I don't know why I've got no sound. This is really annoying because I've been watching Leon and everything else, and I've had loads of sound, but why I've suddenly lost the sound is sod's law and it happens. Yeah, that fight with Leon and Ren Celio, what an absolutely brilliant fight. My son and his partner was there. It was the first one they've ever been to at boxing, and he spoilt it, basically, because it was such a good fight that it's never going to see a fight like it again. Absolutely phenomenal, that fight. And the way they just collapsed at the end, it was such a shame. And it was hard to keep taking photographs. I got so into the fight because when you're taking the photograph, you step back because you're looking for shots and you're not really following the fight too much. And but that one, I was really getting into it, and I think, oh, take pictures, and it's a difficult thing. It was absolutely brilliant. I was so gutted that there had to be an actual winner. It would have been so good if it was a draw, but as I say, that was terrific.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I've no doubt you've seen me at ringside. Had a few health problems lately. Yeah, but it's getting there. We're getting there. I suppose one of the best ones I liked, I've done the Anthony Joshua and Brazil fight at the O2. That was a fantastic audience there, sound, the ambience, everything was. It's the first time I've done a major fight like that, and you get a little bit starstruck, the first time it ever happens. You go, oh, brilliant! I've seen a lot of good fights of yours now, and a lot down your call. It's brilliant, love it, and yeah, people think you just like snap and take, but there's so much more to it. there's so much more. You know, you could go on for hours about. You've got all the editing. You've got to make them look nice. You know, I've got to go through thousands of pictures after the end of a show. I've got to come home and I've got thousands of pictures to sort through to try and pick the nice ones, the good ones, then edit them, then get them up on the site and everything else because everyone wants them instantly. So
And how do
it's
you
hard.
earn? How do you earn? How do you earn
Hello,
money?
we got
How do you earn
we
money?
got signs.
How do you get paid? How do you get
I'm
paid?
sorry, Steve. I just cannot get this sound. I've
Okay.
really got no idea. I've been listening to you. I've been doing that. I've been practicing all the rubbish, and now I can't get nothing. So I'm
Another
stuffed.
time.
So if you want to go like that
All right,
and
let's do that, and
kill
then
me off,
we'll do it
yeah,
another
just
time. We'll do it another
kill
time.
me off. But I'll keep rabbiting. I do enjoy going down your pool. I do enjoy it down there. I love uh, the atmosphere you get down there. The boxers, they're great guys. You know, they work hard to get what they are. I can appreciate that. And we got Phil Sharkey. You know, we get on really well. We have a good laugh. It's just a shame he can't use a Canon camera. You know, he's got a Nikon, but you know, he did go off to the loo and leave it there for 5 seconds, and he's like taking selfies of himself. Yeah, I come back and I'm sorting through them all, and there's a picture of like Phil doing it, all that. But no, we get on well, and it's nice, you know. And there's a good camaraderie there, and I know he's been in it far longer than I have, and I respect the man. He is a good photographer, but on top of that, he's a nice bloke. He's nice to have next to you there, and that always helps, especially when I first started. You know, you're so nervous trying to get the pictures, and you don't know quite what to do. It takes a little while to settle in. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'll keep on going as long as I can with it.
Well, thanks very much, Simon.
Okay, I've got that bit. You cut me off. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Thanks a lot.
I really am. I've got the gist of it. So thanks ever so much for having me on, and
Pleasure,
I'll
Simon.
see you when the next show starts.
Excellent. Take care, Simon.
Okay, cheers, mate. Bye.
That's Simon Dowling without any sound, so it was a bit of a difficult one. And now I'm going to be joined by one of my favourite boxers, Miles SHINKWIN, former champion, contender, whatever you want to call it. So let's get hold of Miles. He was a light heavyweight. Miles, how are we doing?
Steve, how you, mate? Right?
I'm not bad. So, are you a heavyweight now?
And a bit.
How's lockdown been? You've not been working, I presume, in your business, have you? Or
No, I've been here flat out.
Have you?
Yeah.
What, you've been working commercial or residential?
Same residential, yeah.
Have people been all right about it, have they?
I had one person that asked me to put a mask on, but I had it with me. So, yeah, other than that, I must be fine. I had it as well. I mean, I had
did you have it?
Yeah.
How bad was it?
Well, we paid private for a antibody test a while back, and I had it. My wife didn't. I can only remember one time about beginning of April where I didn't feel. I had about 6 days feeling rough. I never had a temperature. Didn't really have a cough. Just ached a lot, and yeah, just felt lousy. Really, nothing tragic.
Oh, really?
And then right at the end of it, I got a cough at the end, a little tiny cough.
But that was it.
Yeah, they said that might not have been it. That might have been a cold, and I had it, and I was no symptoms.
I suppose you're a young, fit man, sportsman, so it helps you get through.
The stairs are tougher.
So when you look at things now, I mean, it's been a while now since you stopped boxing. How do you reflect on your career now, when you've had time away and you now know that you're done with it? I mean, how do you reflect on it?
I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say for yourself. I mean, I underachieved massively, but I can't tell you why. I don't know why, because I never ever. I one of the hardest trainers you'll see. Any speaking of who trained with me, trainers, they always say I gave my balls every session. I ran, done weight properly. In the end, I done weight properly. Yeah, underachieved. I think the Burton fight didn't kill me a little bit. I mean, more in the head than anything else.
I mean, because really the Burton fight, and then a fight after that, you lost. I know you avenged the loss, but you then lost to Joel McIntyre, didn't you? So you had 2 losses in very quick succession. And I mean, and again, I think it's fair to say that up to that point, you would have thought that you might have been a level above Miles and you should have beaten Burton. But maybe, do you think that loss to Burton then took quite a bit out of you?
It's hard to say. I mean, just that night, I was so zoned in on that belt. I didn't think I wasn't thinking about fighting. All I cared about was getting that belt, taking it home to my dad. All I thought about was, yeah, Dad, if it is what we've done, if what we've won. And then I got put down in the second round, and I didn't remember 2 rounds after that.
I think you also found, without saying too much, is that when you asked, because at that point you were signed with, you signed under Frank Warren, wasn't you?
Yeah, the devil.
And
Yeah.
I think all promoters are the same, that it's a lot easier to get the fights and get when you're winning. When you lose, it's much harder to get the rebuild back, isn't it? It's just it does set you back a bit.
Well, I went through it, I mean, without making any kind of, it's not an excuse at all, but I mean, through that time, from when I won the Southern Area title, I beat Horton. I was the main event on Box Nation. I was promised the world. After that, I was told I was going to fight at Wembley Arena twice. This. Then I was supposed to fight Travis Dickinson for the English title. He retired and vacated. Then I signed to fight Bob Bajstaff. He vacated. Then I signed to fight Tom Baker. He wouldn't fight. I think I fought, maybe once in, maybe not under a year, but I kept training, retired, and then people would pull out, and it was a bad time. Then the Burton fight come up, and just and then then they told me the amount I get paid for my first defence against Baker. I signed for Baker again before the Burton fight to fight him after Burton. So I can't say I overlooked Burton, but I had so many plans after that. So I thought I was above that level. Obviously, I wasn't, but just
it's bad luck.
My plans.
Yeah, a bit of bad luck. I mean, the return match with Joel McIntyre was that was a good performance, wasn't it? Let's be fair. That was you. Not say it's your best, but I think that was definitely, you showed a hell of a lot. I mean, you'd gone with Don Charles by then, hadn't you? And you definitely that day put on a brilliant performance, I thought.
I love Jason Rowlands to bits. He's a great bloke.
Great man.
He's a really good bloke. If you wanted some backup or some help or anything in life, he's your go-to man. He would do anything for anyone that cares about him as well. But boxing-wise, I would say, I think he'll admit this as well, me and him probably weren't the best match. He was, an aggressive fighter, more of a fighter. I'm an out boxer. I was, and Don the same. So in hindsight, maybe the move with Don was a bit late in the end. But the funny thing, the worst part was before my last fight, before the Garvey fight, every personal best I ever had, I beat. Every run time, I was trained. I probably was physically at my best ever been. So people were saying to me, Don did something about retiring. I was mad to retire because of how physically fit I was, how well I was. But my heart just went. Didn't want
to. I think it was. I mean, I think it was right. You spoke about retiring after we had that disaster with Conroy, didn't we, up north? And we said don't do it. But I feel it was the right time to retire because the Miles Shinkwin, talent-wise, should not have had a problem beating Kurt Garvey, in my opinion. Shouldn't have had a problem beating Kurt Garvey. I
don't think I did have a problem, but there you go.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So maybe it was the right thing. You've got family, you've got other things in life. And I think there becomes a point. With boxing, it's such a hard life. And unless you're going to hit the big money, there does become a point of saying, what is the point? And we've discussed that. We discussed that.
we laugh now about me and my missus about saying, you know, I'm not saying I'm any, you know, but plumbing is a lot more profitable than boxing was.
Exactly.
And I've boxed for 5 titles maybe, British, Southern Area, English, Intercontinental, 4 or 5 titles, yeah. So
you had 8 title fights,
and then we still saying to you, plumbing is more profitable.
and that was out of 20 fights. You fought 8 title fights, and you were signed by a big promoter. You fought for 2 Southern Areas. You fought 4 times for the English, 1 British, and 1 WBA Intercontinental.
Kept fucking losing, didn't I?
but during that time, though, you fought on Sky Sports on the Matchroom show when you fought Jake Ball. You were signed by Frank Warren, and yet you still couldn't make. In reality, it still wasn't enough money.
Yeah, Frank kept taking it all.
Huh?
Frank kept taking it all.
No, but I mean, that's how hard it is. You've got to go past that level to make the real money, haven't you?
When I tell people what I made for a British title fight, you think now it was live on pay-per-view, Sky Sports. They're like, oh, wow, that's not bad, is it, for one night? Well, let's be clear, it's not one night.
No.
And I said, when I tell them what I cleared, they go, hey, where did the rest of it go? Well, Mr. Warren bought a new watch over, I imagine. And
it is hard. It is hard, isn't it? I mean, it is very difficult, as you know. We covered all of that when we were dealing with things. And I think for many boxers, you see them on television, you think they're earning fortunes. They're not. They're really not earning fortunes.
I saw an interview with Michael Moore the other day, funny enough. I don't watch no boxing, nothing now. I mean, I can't stand the sport, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I can understand that. I've
been there since I was 2 years old. I could walk. I mean, I love food too much to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
But Michael Moore, and he was standing about. Everyone thinks you get paid 30 million. Them 20 million, 30 million. He said, if I got a quarter of that, I was lucky. When I walked home out the door in America. So people think you're making this money. There's a lot of tax. A lot of trainers, a lot of hangers on. Not so much for me, but I'm saying the more money you make, the more hangers on you get.
No, it is. It's very difficult, and I don't think. I think it's less than probably less than 0.5% of boxers make a really good living out of it. If they're on the home side, the journeymen make more than the championship contenders a lot of the time.
When I boxed Conway, who was the journeyman on that show? Do you remember? In our changing rooms.
Kevin McCauley was fighting.
Yes, he was, remember, and he was telling me about how much he makes. I was just thinking, you bastard. Because he made more than I was making, that's for sure.
Because as a journeyman, you can actually make a really decent living as a journeyman, and that's why a lot of boxers now. I do talk to them about it, and some of them you've got to be good to be a journeyman, though. You can't just It's an art. It's an art in itself, and if you're a good journeyman, there's really good money to be made. But
I would punch it, would you?
Sorry?
I
No,
punch
we'll get punched in the head every week. No.
No.
But some boxers, though, if you take people like Christian Late, he was so good he hardly ever got hit. So if you're that skilled at defence, you can go out each week and hardly get hit. And so for some, it's but again, I say I'd rather do financial advice, and I'm sure you'd rather do your plumbing.
No one punches me, I can eat loads of bacon.
Exactly, no, it's all good. Miles, it's been really good talking to you again, my friend. You take care of yourself. Thanks a lot, and we'll touch base soon. Take care, mate.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. That's Miles Shinkwin, who was a pleasure to manage during the latter part of the career when I looked after him. Just to remind you that we're next back on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We've got Jack Newman, exciting young super lightweight prospect from West London. Curtis Gargano, talking about journeyman, one of the real journeyman characters of the country. He's retired now, but he had I think 60 odd fights. Connor Adaway, brother of Chris. So Chris is a journeyman. Connor's making his way through the professional ranks. He's from down in Plymouth. And Marley Dan, who's responsible in the Plymouth area for bringing up a lot of these fighters and training a lot of these fighters. So we're going to hear two people from Plymouth, Curtis from Manchester, Jack from London. So make sure you tune in Wednesday. We've got some interesting stories to go through. And I can't wait to talk to Curtis Gargano because he's always good for a story. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you on Wednesday.